I think it comes down to fear and lack of knowledge. However, when you're able to show people, and create, get that emotion from them, it does it a lot. I'll go into dealerships. I just walk in. I'm old school. Hey man, what's going on? What are you here to sell? I don't know. Hopefully, a bunch of marketing. And I don't know, whatever. But when I show them a YouTube video, or I show them a brand concept, or a walk around, a test drive, a review, a how-to, all these different specials, the service lanes, the finance departments, all these things, they get a holistic view of the entire dealership, and they're like, well, I want my dealership to look like that. Okay, great, sold.
Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of the Coffee with Jason podcast. On today's episode, Jason is jamming with Benny Mazzier. They'll be chatting about the value of video, how to use it, and how to get the most ROI. Sit back with your closer's coffee and get ready for some hot morning tips with your host, Jason Harris. But first, a message from our sponsor.
For freshly brewed discussion on automotive sales and marketing, this is Coffee with Jason. The Coffee with Jason podcast is sponsored by Closer's Coffee. For that full-bodied, rich, sweet flavor with a bright acidity, drink Closer's Coffee, stay caffeinated, and keep on closing. Find out more at closerscoffee.ca.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It's Jason Harris here with Digital Dealership Solutions. Hey, thanks for joining me on another episode of Coffee with Jason. Today, I have my guest, Benny from the Jets. No, I'm just kidding. It's not Benny from the Jets. Dude, you probably get that all the time, don't you? Does the people?
I do.
You got one of those names that are just like, oh yeah, Benny the Jets.
Right. And people walk up to me and they go, Benny.
I was literally doing it, I think, earlier as I was recording this. I was just like, where's Benny?
Right. I'm like, hey, Elton John's the man, and I'm not mad at it. So call me whatever you want. I've been called worse.
Right? Yeah, I know. Hey, for everybody out there that's watching or listening to this, and they don't know who you are, Benny, if you kind of just give us a little bit background, maybe that 2-minute origin story, that'd be a great place for us to start.
Absolutely. So my name is Benny Mazzier. I'm a managing partner at Marketing Solutions STL from St. Louis, Missouri. I got into the automotive business doing vehicle service contracts and car warranties back in 2006, 2007. So I really had to memorize every single piece mechanically of a vehicle and realized that I was very interested in it. Then they tasked me with sending out roughly about 10 million pieces of direct mail a week, and found my messaging delivered the best response rate. And so I was like, okay, cool. I think I'm onto something here. Went to the Yellow Pages and was the corporate trainer for digital, transferred that from the traditional print Yellow Pages to yellowpages.com, traveled around the United States to third-party Google offices and trained them how to sell their own product, because Google didn't have an outside sales team at that time, and decided I wanted to further my knowledge. So I went and worked for one of the largest NBC affiliates here in St. Louis, a broadcast television station, where again, every single client was a car dealer. So I said, this is great. I'm passionate about marketing and advertising, passionate about the automotive business. And that's just how it came about.
Okay, cool. So, we had an opportunity, before we kind of started the video today, to talk a little about video. And video is a huge passion for you. It's a monstrous passion for me. It's just, and I think that's kind of actually how we kind of connected, wasn't it? It was just
absolutely
your passion for video, my passion for video, and that's what, kind of connected, right? And it's, today it's all about networking, and we could actually probably do a whole podcast just on how we actually connected and networking and everything else. But today we want to talk about video. We were talking about a video that I actually posted the other day, where I was talking about the cost of attention is so insanely low when we build off of a video campaign versus just running, your old traditional single images, text ads, so on and so forth, right? Consumers don't want to necessarily just be told about what's going on at the dealership. They don't want to be told why the dealership is a great dealership to do business with, right? They want to see it. They want to freaking see it. We need to show them and stop telling them. And you've made a career out of doing exactly that. So, walk me through kind of how that got started and what you're doing right now.
So it's a great question. So when I worked for a broadcast television station, I was lucky enough to kind of be mentored or taught the broadcast television business by one of the larger consulting automotive groups based in New Jersey, in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And what they kind of taught me and preached to me was it's all about consumer behavior patterns. Find your audience and own them. And don't worry about the platform or the device or anything like that, because they typically have the same routines on a daily basis. So they would talk about reach and frequency and, roadblocks and frequency stacking and all these types of things to make sure that, the end user or their audience saw their message over and over.
Yep.
And so I really started to understand it. And I said, okay, so you're kind of waterboarding them, in my opinion. I said, so it might be slightly aggressive. It was impactful and it worked. I said, but at the same time, we can do it with video, the exact same thing, because ultimately video is television. I mean, it's visual. You can tell your story, you can put a face with a name, all those types of things. But it's so much more cost effective and efficient to do that. And, like Cisco says, in 2020, 82% of all, internet will be video. So, I mean, you might as well strike while the iron's hot and do what you're good at and rock and roll some video.
And I think it's important when people are listening to us talk about videos is that what we're talking about is really trying to create that engagement. You can't get this type of engagement with any other type of ad format out there. You can't measure how long someone stared at a display ad.
Right.
You can't measure how effective, that text ad was and how can you build off of that attention. It's like we don't necessarily, when we present them a video, we're talking about getting those eyeballs, creating that attention, but then we build off that attention. So many people are thinking of these videos as that they're a singular element, and they're not. I mean, every single time that we go to share a message, frequency of reach is incredibly important to the optimization of our video. But it's like, okay, cool, I got your eyeballs on this, you consumed it, but now what else do I tell you? What next steps of the story go along with that video? And I think that makes the big difference between people that are actual practitioners in video versus people that are just putting a video together and just posting that video.
Right. More of a one and done type of approach. And everybody loves stories. They do. It doesn't matter who you are or who you like to listen to. I'm from St. Louis, so there's a lot of rural individuals that are around here, and they like the good old boys that, tell their stories from the past and this and that. And let me tell you my fishing story, and it's always slightly exaggerated, but it's still fun. And, you enjoy that conversation. You enjoy the engagement. You enjoy the knowledge. You enjoy hearing about things and learning about things that you may or may not have experienced or may have been different, a generation or two before you. So, storytelling is something that I'm very passionate about, and I know that it's very effective because I use it and I do it. However, when you use it correctly and it's utilized correctly, it delivers amazing results.
And I think that's actually a good place for us to kind of deep dive into, right? Look, this podcast is, if you guys are listening to this podcast thinking that we're going to try to change your opinions on why you should be doing video, you might as well just turn this off. Okay. This is for people that already understand that video is a vital part of their marketing efforts. And that if they're really going to share a message, a very well crafted, sculpted message, the only medium they really should be doing that in, or the most effective medium they should be doing that in, is in video. So let's start talking about the story, right? So, give me some examples of what you mean by how we build value within the story.
So one of my dealerships, and I'll just use them as an example, the dealer principal, has owned the dealership since 93, and he's getting up in age, but as we all know, dealer principals don't retire, and there's no reason for them to. However, his son was the GM and ran 3 of the stores, and so it was time for the principal to pass the torch to his son. Okay. Well, when you do that, you want to make sure that you're, representing the brand that his father had created 25 years ago, keeping that legacy intact, but also letting folks understand that it's a new business. It's a new world. Times are changing, and we want to address the stigma of people getting beat up when they come into the dealership, or, you're a fraud, you're a slimy car salesman, things like that. It's kind of like an attorney, that they get a bad rap, and I'm very neutral on attorneys and car salespeople. I'm not judgmental either way. However, there is a stigma out there. So what we were able to do is really take a deep dive to, take the son and say, what are you into? What do you like? And he began to talk about, my passion for cars. I love cars. When I was a kid, my dad used to put me on his lap and drive around the new, 1986 Corvette Stingray or whatever it was. And, then I got into racing go-karts, and I've always been a people person. I started off as a porter in the business, and I moved my way up to parts and service, and then, was a salesperson. Then I moved into finance. Then I moved into, the GSM role, then the GM role. Now he's the president of the organization. His passion every day and what feeds and moves him is the people, and how people give him an opportunity to continue his learning, how he can positively affect people, how people can positively impact his life. And it truly is just a collaboration to be able to share that story, to let people know, yes, this is your brand and your brand's intact. However, this is what your brand represents. So we don't have the Sunday, be there. Come on in, 279 down, and everything's got to go. I'm like, why are you yelling at me? Why? What did I do? So being able to take that story, break it into micro moments or bite-sized chunks, and really bring people down the path, or bring them down the consumer journey for when they're ready to purchase. You have certain people that may be more attracted to, a 35-year-old man that's driving a brand new Camaro SS, at 150 miles an hour. Well, then you might have people that engage more or relate more to the, I want to make sure that my father's legacy is intact. I want to make sure that, we do the same things that he did for all these years, which actually made us successful. So being able to tell that story, that would make me want to buy a car from you. If you yell at me, that's probably not going to happen. I like it. It's awesome. And I love the old guys that stood behind the podium, and would do their videos on TV. I love that. I wish I had some of that content, because I would recreate it and reuse it.
But it makes it relatable. It brings it down to a human element. And see, there is no other medium out there that we can do where we can literally get right down into that human element, where we can evoke an emotion, right? We know that, video hits so many different sensories of the brain, where a single image and a text ad don't. Text ads very limited, imagery of the brain or part of the brain where it absorbs it. But image adds a little bit more, because we are visual individuals, so we consume both differently. But then video is totally different. It's got audio, it's moving video, moving images, and then the ability to evoke an emotion. Right? You will never be able to evoke an emotion through a text ad or a image ad.
No, not at all.
And if you do, it's probably pretty darn rare that you actually ever get a chance to do that, right?
Or it's viewed as a nuisance. That's the emotion you get. This is annoying.
That's very true, right? So if we can make someone laugh, if we can make them maybe tug at their heartstrings a little bit, or even in some cases piss them off, all right, the probability to actually retain that message is substantially higher than if we do it in any other type of medium. In addition to that, we know that customers buy stories before they buy products. All right. The reason that they bought that Silverado wasn't because it was a Silverado. Okay. At some point in time, somewhere, all right, they bought into the story of why that truck is better than all the other trucks out there, right? But somebody had to do that. Maybe it was the neighbor. Maybe it was the neighbor telling them that, or maybe it was grandpa saying, "I bought Silverado. I've always bought a Silverado. You're going to own a Silverado," right? It could be that as well. But as a dealership, if we're not utilizing that medium to its fullest capabilities, we're leaving so much opportunity just out there. We're just wasted opportunity.
I agree with you 100%. And we're all salespeople at heart. Ultimately, people buy from people they like and from people that they trust. So, and where I'm going with that is, you have video, you take video and you interview, the floor salespeople, the BDC people, the sales managers, the principal, the GM, the GSM. Let's go back into the service department. you'd be surprised how many people have never seen the inside of a service department at a dealership before, besides just pulling up in the express lane.
Yeah, it's so true.
I shot a video the other day at one of my dealerships, and I went back in the back and talked to a bunch of techs, and they had all the cars up on the lifts and doing these things, and people are commenting like, "Oh my God, that's so big. Is that what you mean by state-of-the-art facility? Look how clean it is. I didn't even hear anything." And well, that's really opening people's eyes and letting them know what it is, because if you know who the man behind the mask or the woman behind the mask that's working on your car is, you're probably going to drop your guard a little bit, feel more comfortable, and become a repeat or referral customer to that dealership. So I really think putting a face with a name and being able to tell your story not only helps, with the identity and also the stigma, but also that comfort level of, well, yeah, I just saw Jack yesterday. I mean, why wouldn't I give Jack $145 an hour for labor? Seems fair to me.
That's true, right?
Yeah.
So let's get into, I want to get a little more strategical, right? I mean, I think anybody that's listening to this and they haven't turned off the podcast so far, they're listening it because they agree with us. They agree that video is very important. They agree that the video is the best place to evoke an emotion, to create a story, to develop out some brand awareness. And I think they also agree with us that customers buy stories before they buy into products. So we need to be out there, not necessarily telling, we got to be showing them, right? So let's get a little more strategical about that, right? You talked about taking some videos and cutting them up into multiple chunks, but then you also talked about knowing who the audience is. So that's where I think I want to go first, is let's go into the audience and then how we kind of cut it up into multiple chunks. But like, what does that mean for you? What does it mean to define an audience?
So what I do is I'll go into the CRM or the DMS and I'll pull all the Silverado sales of a dealership, since we're talking about Silverado, for the past 6 or 12 months. Well, I'll take that data and then I will put it into the system to find out the geographics of the individual, the demographics of the individual, the interests of the individual, obviously your age. To me, race isn't important. However, it is an option to find out what these individuals like, what magazines they like, what TV shows they like, what things that they follow online, what are their interests, where are they, what is their age, and find out, where are we going to be able to reach them and let them see our message the most effective and the most efficient, but the right amount of times to be able to make them get off the couch and create an action. So Some people say it's between 6 and 10 times with digital. If that's the case, that's fine. However, we need to make sure that we are everywhere. Where's our audience? Everywhere. But if I'm targeting a 65-year-old man, I'm probably not going to invest in Instagram or Snapchat, because that demographic isn't typically heavy users of those two platforms. Not that they're not good platforms, but I need to make sure that I'm delivering the best results, in the most cost-effective manner.
No, and that was a weird sound. When it comes to audience development, some audiences are really easy, and then some you do need to really deep dive into it, right? Up here we had a Ford dealership. They made a Maple Leaf Special Edition pickup truck. Now Ford's done this for multiple professional sports teams across the nation, but up here they had a dealership. They bought into this. They thought it was going to be really exciting. Oh, all kinds of fun, Maple Leafs. Oh, we'll sell tons of these, right? And they ordered dozens of them. Well, reality, if you're not marketing to the right audience, then they don't even know you have it, and that doesn't necessarily work out. So this was an example where the audience was very obvious, right? It was like you had this excessive amount of these Maple Leaf, trucks, right? And we needed to get in front of them. That was a very easy audience to create. Fans of the Maple Leafs, no problem. ran the ad. I mean, it did not take long. It was a few days, and they started seeing traffic, more leads, more phone calls happening up on the trucks. Within the next 60 days, they moved all those trucks. Right now, when I say about developing an audience, because you talked a little bit, I always like to go, first we have to really understand, what our goal and objective is, right? For you, we'll stay on the example of the Silverado, since whatever we're using it, right? There are multiple people that are buying trucks. There are families that are buying trucks. There are tradesmen that are buying trucks. There are executives buying trucks. I mean, hell, I was in a fully loaded Silverado the other day. I mean, holy crap. I thought I was in an S-Class Mercedes or something.
Right.
I mean, like, holy crap. I mean, just heated and cooled seats and, this moved this way and heads-up display. And I was like, is this a truck?
Yeah.
So look, there are a lot of different people out there that are buying a lot of different trucks. So I think you break it down by model, then you kind of define, to your point, segment wise, who's buying these trucks, right? What does this individual look like? What does customer A look like, for this particular truck? And then once we've done it, we're looking at demographics, right? We're looking at interest, and then we're also looking at demographics, behavior, and interest. Okay, so those are the three things that we're really kind of looking at right here, right? So, what's demographic in the individual? What are the behaviors of the individual, right? Are they actively in market for, another product or something along that line, similar to it, right? And then, what are some of those interests? In this case, with my example, the truck was perfect. It was easy, right? They're fans of the Maple Leafs,
Right.
But I think once we have those three things defined, then we have our audience defined.
Yes, I agree. And, if I'm going to market a Maple Leaf Silverado, I'm probably not going to have Drake as my spokesperson, who's the president and spokesperson of the Raptors, because basketball versus hockey. However, I think once you understand the audience, you can really break it down into more segmentation. So if we're looking at a Silverado, we have an LS, we have an LT, we have an LTZ, we have the Trail Boss, we have the High Country. All of these different trim levels are going to cater to different individuals. The gentleman you just mentioned that uses it for a work truck is probably not buying a High Country as an everyday work truck, because he's not going to want to, throw 2x4s and drywall and tools and what have you in the back of that nice fancy truck.
Unless he's
the owner.
Yeah, I always find that really interesting. You know what I mean? Like every single contractor I know, landscape or whatever it is, right? You have all your guys that are driving those trucks. And then, of course, the owner, he's the one that's got the blinger model, right?
Oh, absolutely. All day long. And that's typically how it goes. And when you're looking at that also, is I kind of have another group that I call weekend warriors.
Yeah.
Well, I drive a truck because, my wife, she gives me a big honey-do list, and I have to go to Home Depot or Lowe's or the hardware store every weekend. So I have to have a truck.
And I love those ones because you can easily tell them when they come in on trade. You just look into the bed of the truck and you're like, there's not a freaking scratch on the bed of this truck.
But I got to have a bed liner.
Yeah.
Because it looks cool.
Yeah.
But ultimately, really tapping in and understanding that audience of what it is. If someone lives in, more of, I would say an affluent suburban area, and, they're buying a High Country Silverado because their, wife makes them take their grandkids' bikes back and forth to the park on the weekends, and it's cooler than a minivan. That's a totally different audience than an individual that, is more of a blue collar and, bust their ass every day to go to work, and they do physical labor, and, they really don't care what the truck looks like. They want it to be practical. They want it to be useful. Then they want it to suit their everyday needs and to be able to be a durable vehicle that they can count on.
Well, I think what we're saying at the end of the day, guys, if you're listening or watching to this, is that there is no such thing as a one size fits all.
No.
Right? And it drives me nuts. Like in fact, and you've seen some of my videos, I sometimes physically get pissed off. I use very choice 4-letter words, when I see this crap, because it drives me nuts. It's like, it's such a disservice to our consumers to treat them as, the people that buy a truck. Well, here's a single ad. That's it.
Right.
There's one piece of creative, that's going to somehow magically be relevant to every single different type of person out there that buys that product. And I don't know if it's laziness or maybe it's a lack of understanding content strategy, because that's really what we're talking about at this point now, right? It's content strategy, right?
Yes.
We're making very specific content for a very specific audience, but I think the customers are pretty smart. I mean, I have seen customers acknowledge it and actually appreciate it, because it's not just a single image of that truck sitting up on top of a mountain. No, it's the image of that truck, with the family packing their stuff into it, because it's look how many more hockey bags you can fit into the back of this pickup. It's relevant to them as a customer, and I think it's our job today as marketers that we have to be doing this. And it's just the sheer amount of non-audience specific content out there is mind-boggling.
It is. And the other thing is not only the relatability part and the relevancy part of it, but also understanding what people want to know is what I call with them. What's in it for me? I get it. It's $200 a month. I get it. It's $300 a month. But guess what? I want wireless charging. I want third row seats. I have 6 kids. I want to make sure that I have Bluetooth, that I have all the safety features that I'm looking for. I want lane keep assist. I want all these other types of things, heated and cooled seats, like you had mentioned. But those different features and benefits are going to cater to different individuals. Mm-hmm. As you said, with the hockey bag and all these types of things, I'm probably going to run that video on a traverse, if you will, to, mothers that may be in the presence of children or have children or things like that, to really be relatable and relevant for them to say, oh, wow, look, with that third row seating down and the second row seating down, I can fit 15 hockey bags back there. And then they also have the little hooks where I can hang my groceries. Man, this thing's awesome. And when my hands are full, I just wave my foot underneath the bumper. Oh, and the tailgate goes up automatically? The lady doesn't care about the price.
No, it's not.
She cares about the story, the benefits, and what's in it for her.
Because what we did is we made a product relevant to a person by solving just some simple day-to-day issues, right? It's like your day's busy, and this is the vehicle that suits your busy day, and in creating out that audience, it's an easy look. Females between the ages of 35 and 45 who are parents of kids, of 2 or less kids, or maybe 3 because it's a third row. So let's say 3, that are over the age of 10, so they're older kids, and the mom's is a hockey fan. So now we got the whole shebang, right? It's a female audience. We know that they're parents with, older kids, maybe in teenage age, and they're hockey fans, right? Now we build this beautiful piece of creative together. Come on, how much more relevant can you get? Plus, to your point, is that now they bought into that story. It's not necessarily how much it costs. That wasn't what the story was. Is they bought into how that's going to fit their life. But I think their level of appreciation, I think there is a consumer level of appreciation that type of creative was created for them specifically.
I agree. And there's so many different things that will pique your interest or get you emotionally. Yeah. I watch a lot of Gary Vee for entertainment because he's hilarious. I've never taken myself that serious, but as he would say, he's fucking awesome. But he said, and he had this roundtable discussion, and he said, if you ever want me to buy something, just put the New York Jets logo on it. Just say something about the New York Jets. He said, to me, the New York Jets are better than anything and everything in the entire world. Well, that makes sense because you have an emotional attachment to that sports team. Well, St. Louis is a drinking town with a baseball problem. And so we all really like, our St. Louis Cardinals, but, the Blues just did win the Stanley Cup. So obviously you have people that have interest in the Blues. Well, why would you not include something about the Blues or a Blues logo or something like that to get them emotionally involved or to be advocates of your brand? Because, it's basically co-branding with their interest, the Blues, and your brand. So you have new fans.
I think it's an interesting point that you just brought up there is that, this is not, there's someone as high profiled as Gary Vee that talks about this. And yet I'm still literally just before we started shooting this, I'm going over this report with you from a pretty big name automotive marketing vendor that got sent over to me to a potential new client showing, hey, this is what we're currently doing.
Right.
It's like, what the hell?
It makes no sense.
But I feel like in the automotive industry, we do this so often, and it's not just marketing; it's even like DMS stuff, right? Like, I mean, how many dealer management software out there is still running DOS, and yet we're paying these companies exuberant amount of money. It's like it's brand new technology, yet the technology hasn't changed in 15 fucking years, right? So I don't know why in our industry we have this acceptance of mediocrity. Do you know what I mean?
I do, and I think, and that's one of the things about our industry, of digital marketing and automotive, or video marketing and automotive, things like that. Is I was speaking to a guy the other day. He messaged me on Twitter. I'm not a huge Twitter guy, but he messaged me and he said his name was Ryan Holmer, actually, and he does financial, marketing for financial advisors, and retain me for 10 grand a month, and I'll run Facebook ads for you. And everybody's a digital marketer. It's like CVS and Walgreens. There's one on every corner. And I'm like, okay, I get all of that. And his point was, never, ever do business in the car dealership industry, because those guys are dicks, won't pay you, and will cut you off in a heartbeat.
Huh, okay.
You're absolutely right. You are. If you come at somebody saying, give me 10 grand a month to run some Facebook ads for you, and it doesn't work, guess what? You're probably not going to get complimented. You're probably going to get cut off, and you're probably not going to get paid. The thing about our industry is advertising in the car business has been, like cereal and milk for 70 years, or 50 years, whatever it is. But you have to take a moment to understand that there's a learning curve. There's a lack of knowledge. That these dealer principals, these GMs, these decision makers at these dealerships nowadays, it's not that they don't want to do business with you, but at the end of the day, it's just like buying and purchasing a vehicle. If you don't have that trust, if you don't educate them, if you don't, expand their knowledge base and really let them know this is the strategy, this is your content calendar, this is the expectations, these are the results, and really break it down, give an analogy that they can understand, then yeah, you're probably going to get, spoken to or treated in a way that maybe you thought was a little too harsh. Yeah. But, get thicker skin and, help our industry, help these individuals, and you'll do perfectly fine.
Yeah, I just think I'm kind of, someone told me the other day in one of my posts, I was angry. I'm like, you know what? I am angry, and I think I'm at the point now where I think I feel comfortable enough when I'm just like, fuck it. Yep, I'm angry. I'm angry, right? I am pissed off with how much ad spend is being spent out there right now, and we're frankly, for the lack of a better word, we're half-assing our shit. I mean, we're half-assing our marketing efforts, and I just. Someone the other day, I was at a dealer meeting, and of course this came up, and they're like, you're getting angry. I mean, I am. I'm getting to the point where I'm physically angry with it, right? Yes, I'm getting physically angry here, right? It's just like, it's 2019. All right. We have the ability to know who our buyers are. The data is sitting right there in front of us. All right. We're not, there is no I thinks or I feels or none of that crap. It's like, just to your point, right? You went back, you pulled 6 to 12 months of data of who the hell's buying these things, right? The information sitting right there. It's just, enough's enough, right? Like, right. We know who our audience is. The ability to capture content could not have been any easier. Yes, you need to get somebody to edit it. Absolutely. Okay. Right. Still something that does require a little bit, a bit of a talent or know-how of what you're going to cut, how you're going to present it. But it's just, man, I don't know, I'm getting pissed. It's just like enough, right? I just find it's just laziness, just laziness not to sit there to identify who your audience is and then create creative specifically for them. And now, so the fact that I think I'm getting pissed, I actually think the customers are also getting pissed, because we're just treating the customer as just this, every customer is the same. They're not. Every customer is different.
And think about anything, that you do in your normal life of how you, how you treat people. I was always raised to treat the CEO and the janitor the same. It's all about respect. It's all about those types of things. Well, if that's the case, then you need to tailor your message specific to that individual. And if you just blanket, a message, or, the old spray and pray method, and, just hoping that, it works, unfortunately, you're not going to get the engagement, the trust, or build your brand with the repeat and referral or direct source leads, that are the lowest cost per entry if you're using that approach. So, I don't think it's anger. I think it's passion. And I think there's not enough of you out there. You can't.
It's passion with a bunch of 4-letter words. That's what it is. Right. There we go.
And I just think that's what it is. And that's what I really love about it is, being passionate and learning, and helping other people. And when you walk into a dealership and say, hey, I'm going to save you $150 grand a year. I'm going to go ahead and add this, and this. And this is what you can expect. I've never heard anybody that I've ever talked to go, Benny, I just don't think that we're in the market to save 6 figures this year. It's just not.
Yeah, I'm just not interested. I don't want to save money.
Right.
You know what else I think it is, Benny, is that, dealerships have been programmed on how they buy media for years. And I still think there are a lot of people working at the dealership that bought traditional media years ago, who are still kind of treating digital in that exact same way, right?
I agree.
Like, let me just buy my $10,000 worth of radio ads. Let me just buy my, $5,000 worth of weekly newspaper ads. I'll just buy it. Let me just buy that real estate, right? And I still think it's unfortunate that there's a lot of agencies out there that are willing to cater to those individuals. So, I think one thing dealerships really need to look at who the hell is in charge of their media spend, all right? And are they treating it as an investment or just a spend?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
And really understanding too, the automotive business trained consumers to purchase vehicles the last 2 weeks of the month. Consumers didn't decide that. Dealers decided that a long time ago of, hey, we're going to run our ad 14 days a month. It's going to be or 10 days a month, the last 2 weeks of the month. That's what it is, because we know we're going to double the amount of sales that we did the first 2 weeks and the last 2 weeks, and hammer, 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 hard, 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 hard. Well, okay. Guess what? Some people get paid bi-weekly on the 7th or on the 3rd. Whatever it is. What if somebody has a social security check that they want to spend with you? They're not going to see your message because it's already gone by the time your ads run the last 10 days of the month. It's just funny. It's trained behavior. It really is. And I respect it, and I entertain it. However, it's 2019, as you had stated previously. Let's go ahead and, get on the train a little bit.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about what that actually looks like. I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask the question anyways, right?
Sure.
All right. You're sitting down with a dealership. How much time do you talk about? What percentage of your time do you talk about audience development versus the percentage of time you talk about creative?
I would probably say 50-50.
Yeah. Right.
And I probably talk more about creative because all I have to do is just export data for the audience. So it's not too difficult. And, dealerships have more data than they have any idea what to do with. So,
but I think the bottom line is that it's at bare bones minimum, it's 50-50, right? That's a fundamental shift, right?
Yes.
You got to understand the people that are used to buying traditional media, all right, they spent no time talking about the audience because the audience was already defined, right? You bought radio. Well, that was the audience. You put the ad in the newspaper, there was a predefined audience, Right. So like, I think the best way for a dealership to know if they're working with the right person or not instantaneously, this is your number one indicator, is that if they don't spend at least 50% of their time discussing with you and truly understanding your audience, they're the wrong people to hire. Would you agree with that?
I would agree 100%. And there's always things that, I'm a big fan of dance music, house music. I'm from St. Louis. House music was, developed and originated in Chicago. It's only 5
I
hours
just
away.
got a mental picture of,
Right.
of Benny dancing to some house music. That's awesome.
Yeah. And my dad would always make fun of me, and he go, son, this ain't nothing but recycled disco. And he's right. He's totally right. But let's think about the way that we would go to market, or our strategies for traditional media were media, math, message, symptom, solution, call to action. That's what it was. Media, math, message, symptom, solution, call to action. Well, it's effective. It does work. However, put a story to it. Hit an emotion with it. Create a want, create a need. The old fear, greed, and ego tactics that you have back in the day of, well, I see this, Toyota dealership on TV 87 times a day, right? Because the dealer principal wants his name in lights like Dirk Diggler, and it's a vanity play, and that's the only reason that it's there. So I try to educate, but I don't disrespect or discredit the originators and where the knowledge came from. We just like to try to polish it up a little bit and make it more effective.
Well, I think we have to evolve, right? The bottom line is that we're having to evolve everything. Everything has to evolve in the dealership, or modernize. Maybe the better word is to modernize, all right?
Sure.
Our operations have to modernize. Look, the experience in a dealership pretty much hasn't changed in over 100 years, all right? So we need to modernize that. It's not that we need to or have to. The customer expects us to, right?
Right.
Someone was telling me the other day, the customer's expectation of the experience is literally based off of the last experience they had. So that level of expectation continues to rise day after day after day after day.
Right.
Yes. Do they expect an Amazon level experience? Yes, they do. They do. That's
right.
Because that's what they've already experienced. They don't understand why they can get that experience buying a case of toilet paper, but then they come to a dealership and buy a $45,000 truck, and they get an experience that's literally dated to the 1930s and 20s. Like, it's crazy. I actually saw a bill of sale recently. Literally, it almost looked identical. It was from the 20s. It almost looked identical to the bill of sale we use today, right? So look, we have to, not only do we got to modernize our dealerships operations and experience, but we got to modernize our marketing efforts. And you made this comment the other day that yes, some of this older stuff has been working, but I actually don't think it has been. I think we've just been able to fly by, half-assing our efforts, because as an industry, things have just been so good. We've been running the last 5 to 7 years of prosperity. Every single manufacturer, double-digit gains, quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter. It's like that ain't happening anymore.
No.
It's like we've plateaued out. And it happens. This is, it's on a 7 to 10 year cycle. This happens every single time. Of course, we're surprised when it actually happens, but every 7 to 10 years it plateaus out. We got to modernize our efforts, and I think you're out there. I'm out there. We're pushing people to do it. And I'm getting to the point where I'm no longer just being nice about it. I'm just like, just do it or die over the next couple of years.
Right. And I think it really also boils down to is common interest, common knowledge, and making sure that, the individual that you choose to represent your dealership or your automotive group has the same goals to take the brand and the organization to a certain place. Because if you're radio, TV, and canvassing, door knocking, and I'm YouTube, rich media, display ads, and focusing on search intent, we're probably, not even in the same book, let alone on the same chapter or page. So I think that's really, another thing that it boils down to. And I think it comes down to fear and lack of knowledge. However, when you're able to show people, and create, get that emotion from them, it does it a lot. I'll go into dealerships. I just walk in. I'm old school. Hey man, what's going on? What are you here to sell? I don't know. Hopefully, a bunch of marketing. And I don't know, whatever. But when I show them a YouTube video, or I show them a brand concept, or a walk around, a test drive, a review, a how-to, all these different specials, the service lanes, the finance departments, all these things. They get a holistic view of the entire dealership, and they're like, well, I want my dealership to look like that. Okay, great. Sold. I love it. But it's just, you got to put yourself out there. You have to help educate. And, that's just how it is.
No, it's totally true. And you know what? I see that our time is just about up here, but I think it's actually a great place for us to stop. And there's just been some amazing, just knowledge nuggets here. And I encourage anybody to go back and re-listen to this for sure, because there was just some great pieces here. For everybody that's listening, watching right now, would love to learn more about what you do, Benny, or connect with you. What is the best way to do so?
You can go to my website, marketingsolutionstl.com. You can follow me on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. My YouTube channel has more long form content, and the other social media sites have more of the 1 minute or micro moments, things like that. So, follow me, Google my name, Benny Mazzier. One of the things I pride myself on is if I can't represent myself, then I can't represent you. So Benny Mazzier, Google me.
Hey, thanks again, Benny, for taking the time to jam with me today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you.
We covered a bunch of great topics today. What stood out most to you? Be sure to let us know in the comments section below. And don't forget to like the post and share it to keep the conversation going. You can follow Jason on all social media platforms by following Strategy with Jason. You can find him pretty well everywhere you can share content. I hope we were able to get you thinking. And until the next time, this has been Nathan with Digital Dealership Solutions. Have a great day.